And today we've got someone quite special. We have, well, I suppose slightly special at least. So we've got a winemaker from the Hunter Valley called Mike Iuliis, and hopefully I pronounced that correctly, considering how many I's are in his last name.
It is pronounced correctly.
Very good.
It's lovely to be here. It's lovely to be called special. I feel special.
As long as you're feeling special, that's all that counts. So to start off with here, the first one we've got, so this is 2005. So this is your age release Semillon to start off with. And that's pretty normal that it always comes out as a 6-year-old then?
Yeah, there or thereabouts. I mean, with the brand, we sort of look at the wines and see where they're travelling. We'll try not to release, we don't release an aged Sem every year if we look at the wine and think, it's probably not going to get there. And to get people excited about aged Sem, you've got to show them something pretty special.
Yeah, definitely.
If the wine's only half there, it's kind of like, it's all right, it's an old white wine, but you've got to have a pretty good product to start with. So we monitor them and look at them. So this has just been released, the 05. I think, well, I'll let you talk about the wine.
Let's talk about the wine, no way. Well, I suppose the attraction of this is that, like what we really like about sort of this aged Semillon style, is that a combination of sort of still having that real vibrancy of fruit, whereas having a little bit more complexity more than anything else. You sort of got all that lovely, hey, this is the lovely grassy fruit, but at the same time you've got those extra sort of layers of sort of toastiness that's coming through. Yeah. So it just makes for something that's a little bit more complex and probably more food friendly too.
And I mean, it's just a unique beast, Semillon. It's just still just retains that core of acidity and that beautiful line of acidity through the palate. But, you start to pick up, from what started out as a pretty young, and Semillon, as young wines, they are pretty simple.
Yeah, definitely.
And just develop this complexity, and, you start to see toast and nuts and figs, and then, our vineyard where this comes from does tend to lean itself a little bit more to the style, that little bit more beeswaxy, sort of lanolin, sort of style.
I'm looking for beeswax now.
Well, because then the other end of the aged Semillon spectrum is that real sort of toasty, honey on toast, and this one here is probably a little bit more down that other aged Sem spectrum.
As they get older, they get more and more of that honey toast sort of thing, because like most of them all sort of follow that same sort of trajectory. At what point do they start to get really toasty, do you reckon? Like these ones?
Probably 10 years plus.
Okay.
I mean, now that everything's under screw cap, seeing a lot more consistency. When 10 years ago when everything was under cork, I'd probably say, 5 years, 6 years. But everything was different, You'd open a bottle and be really toasty.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then you'd open the next one and it'd be completely stuffed. And then you'd open one and it was still really fresh. And so now we're seeing this consistency in these aged Sems. And I mean, I suppose it's like Rieslings. You just see this beautiful consistency of the wines, which can be a good thing, can be a bad thing. But as a producer, it's just fabulous.
See, I can't remember who it was who said that screw caps have been basically the reason why you've seen a resurgence in Semillon in Australia, because always for so long they're always plagued by big bottle variation and oxidation issues amongst anything else. So it's sort of like, hey, screw caps and Semillon, they're sort of made for each other.
Yep. And those delicate white varietals, Semillon, Riesling.
Yeah, all of them have really benefited from it. Okay, so we're going to be slow from going on there. We're going to start talking about Chardonnay. And this is probably something that I'd probably say that you are quite renowned for your Chardonnays, actually. Well, there you go.
I tell you what, it's one of the varieties I really enjoy making. Semillon, there's a tried, they're making Semillon on the Hunter for 100 years. And there is a traditional method of making Hunter Sem. And you don't tend to deviate too far from the path. Chardonnay is a variety that lends itself to being kind of moulded in a style where you're trying to head.
Yeah.
You've got to have the raw material to be able to do it.
Yeah.
You can't do it with rubbish.
Can't polish a turd.
Can't polish a turd. But it's a bit of fun, and we're sort of our Chardonnay making styles has sort of evolved over the years.
Yeah.
Vintage variants of course allowed, but and the Hunter in general is turning out some really
very
cracking Chardonnay.
Yeah,
Sorry
definitely.
for the pun, but...
No, that's okay. No, that's okay. I suppose you can, so that, as you said, that new generation of Chardonnays, I think that they really benefited. The Hunter has really shown that you can have a style that is the same time as being rich and full, has no need to ever be too fat. And I think really, as far as in terms of Chardonnay, that there's been a real big push back on Chardonnay in the last couple of years.
There has, and you know, in the Hunter, it's not, you know, there's a new wave of younger winemakers really coming through, and you know, trying to sort of push the envelope a little bit and making some really quite out there styles. But you know, there's still those traditional wines now that are, you know, like Tyrrell's Back 47, Scarpa Chardonnay. I mean, when you put them into a lineup of wines, and from all over Australia, they're just outstanding wines.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, this is really smart. I really like this wine, actually.
Yeah, I mean, this is out from the vintage. You know, a little bit more forward than what we've seen before in the past, but you know, a lovely drink. You know,
yeah, it is a lovely drink, actually. Yeah. Like, I really like this one. I think that this sort of style of Chardonnay is something you can just drink really easily.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's got that extra complexity that you're looking for. You'd be like, hey, look, this is